Holland, Mr. Lazar, Mr. Martinez, Mr. Rodriguez Pina, Mr. Sanabria, Ms. Fano, Ms. Weinberg, Secretary Pago,
Here.
Treasurer Fernandez Guzman, Vice Chair Gutierrez, Chair Ferret. We have a quorum, sir.
Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Alfred, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, we have we call the roll and we have a quorum. The first thing is the declaration of voting conflicts. Mr.
Yes,
Weiss?
I'm sorry. Do any of the board members have any conflicts to declare at this time? None, Mr. Chairman.
I would like to ask that the Board of Directors meeting today, that the agenda be altered so that we can take into account the Executive Committee's deliberations. The Executive Committee met this afternoon, and the chairman of that committee is our Vice Chair, Maritza Gutierrez, and she'll be making a report. But there is an action item to continue our Executive Director's contract, and we need a motion to include that in the agenda, if you would, please. Maritza?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Motion to include in the agenda wherever you feel appropriate.
I think we'll take it in
As an action item?
9E. 9E. All right, it's been moved and seconded. We're changing the agenda. That's what we're doing. And it is to accept the Executive Committee's recommendation to continue Javier's contract. Okay? Are we ready to vote on this change, this addition to the agenda? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So ordered. So now we're in citizens' comments.
None received.
Is there anybody here that has written and wishes to be heard before MDX at this time? All right, if not, the approval of the summary minutes is the next thing.
Motion.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as submitted. Is there further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Executive Director's report. Mr. Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is this on?
You know what? In the interest of, because you have important things to say today, so let's wait, because I think we're going to get one or two more members present. So let's hold off your comments. So then we go to the General Counsel's report.
No report, sir.
The MPO representative report. Well, that's me.
Mr. Chairman, I want to make it for the statement for the record. I do have a conflict, and want to just be known. I have submitted the appropriate forms in the past, but wasn't sure it was appropriate since I did it previously. I wasn't sure, so I consulted with the council, and they said that I needed to disclose that I have a existing relationship. So for the record, thank you.
Please go ahead.
Okay.
Is that it?
That's it.
Does that
He
cover
has
it?
yes, he has a conflict on action item C and will be abstaining from voting.
Okay.
He has a relationship with one of the companies.
All right,
one of the proposals.
anything else? Okay, so I don't have anything to report because the MPO meeting was canceled, and I've yet to go to my first MPO meeting. Treasurer's report. Mr. Is Marie? Yes. So Javier, let's go back to yours then.
Okay, no problem. Mr. Chair, my report this month, I'm going to address some issues that I typically don't address to the board, but I think it's extremely appropriate at this time, this meeting, to address them, and it's personnel issues at MDX. As many of you know, and for those that don't know, my Deputy Director, Alfred Lurigados, has accepted a position with Florida East Coast Industries, and he will be starting there on December 2nd. And, you know, Alfred's been with the authority since 2004. He's been the director of engineering since 2004. And I take very great pride. I take great pride everywhere I go because MDX's highways are his highways. And that's the way he treats it. And I've always said you could teach everything, but you can't teach passion. And that's one thing that Alfred always displayed. And I know you're going to be tremendously successful at Florida East Coast Industries. And I wish you all the best. And I know you can count on me. Board. And I know you can count on the board for their support. And I'm sure you're going to get a lot of calls.
Let me interrupt you since we started so early and we're doing so well on time. And I just wanted to, as chair, add my 2 cents worth in this. Alfred, we're going to miss you. But I want to tell you, I think the last, as I told you in private, I think the last 10 years have been the best graduate school you could have gone to. And I think what you've learned at MDX prepares you to be the president of a major corporation. And I think you're well on your way to wonderful things. And we're all very proud of you. We're all very grateful for the wonderful work you've done for MDX, and we're all going to miss you. And I know Maritza wants to say something too.
Well, I just want to say, man, are we really going to miss you? You're going to a phenomenal company, and our best wishes, you know, and the wind is with you, so now fly. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
With that news, which is bittersweet, and I guess on all of our parts is bittersweet, there's opportunities at MDX. And I'd like to say that today, and I'll make this announcement, that Juan Toledo, who's been our assistant director of engineering, will step into Alfred's shoes come December 2nd when the position takes.
The director, I want you to stipulate that he does not have to wear a tie.
I'm sure he will be wearing a tie all the time come January. But here's another guy that's been with the authority since 2005 and extremely passionate, well-rounded. And it's like I always said, it was really hard to find a replacement for Alfred. It's going to be hard to find a replacement for Juan. But that position will be advertised soon, and we will post it on our website. And then the third item that I wanted to update everybody is Mario Diaz is our public information manager.
Wait, I want to congratulate you on something that you just did. I want to congratulate you for looking inside the house first and rising them to the position. Great move, great opportunity, and for everybody else that works here, congratulations for realizing that we do have superstars. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. And then the third person was Mario Diaz. As everyone knows, Mario's has stepped into the shoes of taking care of everything communications. And Mario is our public information manager, and he's being promoted to that. And I know he's going to do a phenomenal job, and I look forward to continuing to work with him, and he looks forward to working with the board and the challenges that lie ahead in the next year. So the last item that I wanted to update is on the general counsel search. The position's still open, and it will be open until filled. I have interviewed 2 other candidates that I believe are prepared to come before this board. I have 1 more pending, and I'm trying to schedule it. So in the next 30 days or so, I'm going to be coordinating calendars with the board to see when I can get the interview scheduled before the board. Richard Weiss and his firm and Matt have been outstanding. Very few people know that Richard is doing this pro bono. You know, the firm is you know, they're our outside counsel, but Richard's time here, the service he gives us, he's not charging me for it. And I think I'm obligated to recognize that, Richard, because it is a tremendous thank you that from my part. It's been a tremendous help, so thank you very much. On the projects, board members, 874, everyone knows we're finalizing the project on 874. We're 90% complete with the widening from the Palmetto to Kendall Drive. We've also started the project with the Turnpike. On that front, and we did a joint project with Florida's Turnpike to build a bridge over the Turnpike. The contractor that won that job actually submitted an unsolicited proposal that we will be evaluating. They're there. They feel that they can afford us some efficiencies by connecting to 874 and connecting to 128th Avenue. So we will evaluate that proposal and come back with recommendations. There's a process that we have to follow, but I want to make you aware of that so that you're not caught off guard outside of the board meeting. Central Boulevard, there's an item on the agenda later that we will discuss, but Central Boulevard is about 90% complete as well. We're in the last phase of construction, and traffic is flowing nicely in and out of the airport, which has always been my number one issue. On the centralized customer service system, which I've been updating the board regularly, I sent out an email on November 1st. The invitation to negotiate was released by Florida's Turnpike, who we have designated as the procurement office for the procurement. The 4 toll agencies in Florida, the main toll agencies, Orlando, Tampa, Miami, and Florida's Turnpike, have actually joined to put this procurement out on the street. And tomorrow, or Thursday the 14th, there will be a pre-bid conference in the Orlando area. Our designated evaluators are Steve Andriuk and Marie Schaefer. I designated the finance committee, the finance staff, and the toll operations. The different agencies have put different specialty or skills in the technical evaluation committee. So I'll keep you posted on how it proceeds. The last item I wanted to address is there's an upcoming Budget and Finance and Operations Committee, joint committee meeting. And even for members that are not on either one of those two committees, I would ask you to please attend, if you can, that meeting. There's 3 major issues that will be discussed at that meeting that are of incredible importance to this agency. We're going to discuss the work program, 2015 work program, with its finance plan, and all the details, and join both in that conversation. We're going to give you an update on the in-lane ORT, the new contract for 836 and 112. As you know, the current vendor, we have terminated their contract. We put the contract out on the street. We got no responsive bidders. We discussed with the current vendors issues that they had. We are prepared to present and make a recommendation at the joint meeting. It's a very, very important topic. And finally, I think we brought it in for a landing, but the Miami Intermodal Center transfer agreement with the Florida Department of Transportation will be on the table. We'll have that discussion. We'll have a discussion on the policy to amend our bylaws and create a MIC Enterprise committee. We've also developed a draft business plan, and that's all it is, a draft business plan. And we will have that conversation as well at the joint meeting. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I conclude my report.
Let me piggyback on this and add that in the 8 years that I've been here, I don't think there will be a more important meeting than the December 10th meeting. This November 19th committee meeting, joint committee meeting, is in preparation for that. So I ask anybody that has an interest in MDX, anybody that has an interest in our future and the things that we are about to do, and that you be present for November 19th and December the 10th. Just mark it down, please, in your calendars. We're all very busy. We all have a lot of things. I know that takes up our time. I will be addressing that in my comments.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'd like from the executive director to sometime in the near future give us an update on the 874 improvements that we made in Killian in terms of traffic flow improvements, also incidents of accidents and slowdowns, et cetera. I'd like to have an analysis pre and post the improvement. Can you do that?
Absolutely.
If you're prepared to do it now, it's fine. Later or whatever, whenever you're able to.
We'll be more than happy to make a presentation, Mr. Sanabria, but it is safe to say that accidents have gone down. Actually, we've been looking at the intersection in that area there, and it may be declassified as a high crash location. And
Also,
that's the
did
latest
you
that we've
conduct
heard.
a survey of the commuters in that area to see what their attitude is towards that improved?
No, we haven't, but we would be
Would you
happy
consider
to.
doing that, please?
We would consider, yeah, absolutely.
you.
All right, and then after you have that report, you can schedule it at the meeting. Okay. All right, we're now at the treasurer's report.
Yes, sir. I apologize that I was late to the meeting. The treasurer's report is for the 3-month period, September, the first quarter of our fiscal year 14. Overall revenue was $35.1 million, which was above the forecast by 3.2. That was mainly due to the toll and fee revenue, and traffic is up about 2.5%. Which is why it's above the forecast, as well as the fact that customers who are coming out of the court system are going back into the billing cycle. So that's the reason for the variance of $3 million. On the expense side, there's nothing really out of the ordinary. Overall total expenses for the 3 months was $11 million. Interest was $15 million for a total expense of $26.2 million. So it's right in line to where the budget is. Net revenue is above the forecast by the $3.2 million.
Any questions? I'd entertain a motion to accept the report, please.
Is there a motion made by,
Second.
made and second, further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're now on item number 7A. Operations Committee.
Those
Are there any, the intergovernmental or public?
No, the items that came out of those committees are on the agenda today, so they're action items.
We're now on item 8, consent agenda.
Motion.
There's a motion on 8. Is there a second? Second. Further discussion? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda say aye. Aye. Opposed? We're now on item number 9, which is the regular agenda A. Mr. Director.
Yes, I'm going to have Alfred discuss this one, but this is a proposed Florida International University MDX agreement to provide various services, engineering support, information technology related to research and the Tiger Grant that was recently awarded to FIU. Alfred?
Yes, Mr. Chair, board members. This is a proposed Florida International University and Miami-Dade Expressway Authority partnership to provide information technology and civil engineering support services and other research and related services. The agreement will provide the opportunity for the study of an advanced information technology platform to provide an informed traveler program and application that was awarded via the Tiger program that the Executive Director Rodriguez mentioned. It also allows for an approval for the Executive Director to enter into the final terms, which are in substantial form in your packet, as well as a upper limiting amount of a total $500,000 cap on the agreement between FIU and MDX. You may recall that a few years back we did have this agreement in place. It is not substantially different at all from that agreement, with the exception of some items of scope have changed due to the new Tiger Grant award. Those that were listed under the Informed Traveler Program application. And they could potentially develop items such as smartphone apps or ITS applications that will be used in the TMC, all related to bettering the traveling public information, getting them information, and obviously using that money that Tiger Grant awarded within FIU to provide new ITS services. This was approved under the Operations Committee recently, and again, the actual substantial form agreement is here and is for a 3-year term.
All right, Mr. Chairman of the Operating Committee, do you have any comments that you want to make on this? Just for the record, Alfred, this is a continuation of the contract that we currently have. Is that correct?
Actually, that contract expired. This would be
A renewal of that contract.
It would be a completely new contract.
And in the old contract, we spent $185,000.
That was, I believe, the total, somewhere in that number.
Okay, and the Tiger Grant that FIU got was for how much?
$11.397 million. And the match commitment that MDX has is roughly $260,000. We are working scope. This contract that we have with FIU would be an umbrella contract. Underneath the umbrella contract, we issue task authorizations. Each task authorization will have a scope and a deliverable, and that's what we're negotiating with FIU now to make sure that we support the Tiger Grant correctly. So that's what this agreement is.
Mr. Sanabria.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this replaces the old agreement, and
much,
we
yes.
did not spend the total
We
amount?
did not spend the entire amount.
Okay, when we do a projection on transit relief like we did with the busway, could you put in a component of revenues as well, other than just the engineering? Can you do that? Are they capable of doing that?
I believe so. They're modeling, the way that they have models right now, they're actually working with District 6 and District 4, where they can actually check the algorithms on the managed lanes component. So there is a price component that they can add for revenue. They can expand that to a tollway, to the entire tollway, and they can actually analyze that
I don't
for
have
us.
any further questions. I'd like to move it.
Moved and seconded, further discussion on item 9A. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It passes. We're now on B.
Item B, I'm going to have, actually, Alfred take care of this, but this is for MDX procurement contract RFP 1002, MDX work program 11211.030, design build services for Central Boulevard reconstruction. Alfred?
Mr. Chair, board members, this item, as the executive director mentioned, is for design build services for Central Boulevard reconstruction, a total upper limiting amount of $669,049.69. The requested action is an amendment number 2 to the interlocal agreement with Miami-Dade County to increase the project scope of services as requested by the county in the amount of $669,049.69. The full amount of this amendment will be funded by Miami-Dade County. The supplemental agreement also included is for the design build contract with Community Asphalt and MDX to include that additional scope requested by the county for that total amount. The scope change is an installation of a 12-inch water main to replace the existing water main on the proposed North Service Road, which will eliminate the impacts with the construction of the road, and additionally, a repeater station for solar-powered taxi signs near the Lejeune Road lot to inform taxi drivers. So the total amount of $669,049.69 is funded by the county and will be supplemented to Community Asphalt.
Mr. Chairman, do you have anything that you want to add, Operating Committee?
No, it's very
All right, is there a
straightforward.
motion? Second, is there further discussion on this item? All those in favor of item 9B, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So it carries. Now, we're now in C, which is advertising services.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to turn this over to Helen Cordero, Procurement Manager.
Thank you. This is for MDX procurement contract number RFQ 1401 for advertising services. The requested action is a motion to approve the Technical Evaluation Committee's recommendation to select and enter into a contract with the number 1 ranked proposer, Machado Garcia Serra, LLC. Due to a lack of quorum, this item was forwarded by the Intergovernmental and Public Communications Committee without an endorsement at the meeting of October 22nd. A quick summary of this procurement. MDX released an RFQ on August 19th and received 4 proposals on September 13th from Diaz & Cooper Advertising, Infinite Source Communication Group, Machado Garcia Serra, and Ronin Advertising Group. All proposals were found responsive to the requirements of the RFQ. On October 10th, prior to the evaluation process, Ronin Advertising requested that their proposal be withdrew from the process. On October 22nd, the Technical Evaluation Committee met to evaluate the proposals. In order for a proposal to move forward to the oral presentation, they needed to score a minimum of average score of 80 points, which all 3 of the remaining proposals did. On the same day, October 22nd, the Technical Evaluation Committee met and held oral presentations as part of the Intergovernmental and Policy and Planning Committee. So the members of that committee were present and were able to ask questions of the proposers. The evaluators went ahead and finalized their evaluation, and the ranking deemed Machado Garcia Serra the number 1 ranked proposer. The contract has a 15% small business participation requirement as well as a 15% local business participation requirement. There is the contract is for a 3-year term with options for 2-year renewal. Subject to this, to board approval of the selection, the staff would negotiate a contract and bring it back to committee and board for final approval.
All right, questions? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is the Operations Committee is the one that's going to be tasking this firm according to what I'm reading here?
No, it's the government, it's the Public Communications and Intergovernmental Committee that
Okay.
oversees this.
It says here, MDX operation budget.
No, it's the
So we're on
budget.
item C.
The budget is part of the operational budget for MDX. So every year in the operations budget, there's a line item for
Is there a
communications.
projection for that scope of tasks? Is there a projection for this?
We'll do is we'll determine the type of work that's necessary, and then we'll go to Budget Committee with a recommendation, and as we've done in the past,
Each
the budget
task
is,
needs to
the
be
budget is
approved by budget.
adjusted
Okay.
up or down, correct?
All right, good.
Go ahead.
I have a follow-up question, which I think you might be thinking of this. It's a task order driven, but
Correct.
do we have a cap on this agreement? And that's
Yeah.
what's vital.
No, sir.
So there's no limit.
No. Not as of right now. We can, obviously, as we enter into a contract, we can establish one.
Okay.
And we can go item by item and cap each item as it comes up. Huh?
Cap the total.
Further questions? Questions? All right, what's the will of the board?
I'll make a recommendation to accept the number one rank.
All right, it's been moved. Is there a second? Second, further discussion. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. We're on item D.
Mr. Chairman, item D is procurement contract RFP 1401, Road Ranger Service Patrol for MDX. And again, I'm going to turn it over to Helen Cordero, Procurement Manager.
Thank you. This, the requested action is for this board to approve the Technical Evaluation Committee recommendation for final selection and contract award of Ted and Stan's Towing Services, Inc. This item is also being brought to this committee before being presented to the Operations Committee due to the time frame that we're working with as it relates to the current contract expiring and the circumstances surrounding this process. A quick history, we did release an RFP on September 19th and held also a mandatory pre-proposal conference on October 2nd. At that time, 5 prospective proposers attended the mandatory meeting. On October 22nd, only 1 proposal was received from Ted and Stan's Towing Services. Staff did contact the remainder of the proposers that attended the mandatory pre-proposal conference, and the standard, the consistent response was that they felt that our engineer's estimate was too low, and they made a business decision not to pursue the contract. Although it was just an estimate, they could have bid whatever amount they felt was appropriate. Given those responses, we went ahead and moved forward with the procurement process and evaluated the sole proposer. They were responsive to the requirements of the RFP. On November 5th, the Technical Evaluation Committee met and evaluated the proposer. In order for the price proposal to be open, they needed to score a minimum average score of 70 points, which they did. The price proposal was open, and it was below our engineer's estimate, excluding the fuel indexing. This contract is for a 3.5-year term with an option for 3 years renewal. The contract amount would become the price proposal of $7 million, and there is a line item of $245,000 for fuel indexing, which will be utilized in accordance with the formula included in the RFP on an as-needed basis. The solicitation also included bonus points for small and local business participation. The proposer is a certified local business, and in addition, they have proposed a 10% small business participation in the contract. Staff is recommending that we move forward with awarding the contract to Ted and Stan's Towing Services for a $7 million contract for 3.5 years.
For how many years?
3.5 years.
All right. Mr. Avia?
I'm addressing you, Helen, but I'm not sure who can,
Okay.
if it's appropriate. So just to repeat, the $7.2 million is capped, correct?
It is capped.
Not
right-
to exceed,
Not to exceed.
over the 3.5 years.
Correct, based on the level of service that we put in the scope of services and that they proposed in their proposal. If anything changes, whether we reduce the number of hours or cars that we have on the roadway, or we want to increase it, obviously that amount. But based on the level of service that we ask for and they propose, that is the contract amount, yes.
The fuel is indexed, and it's at 245. Is that also a not to exceed, or it's tied
Correct.
to an index? Okay.
It's not to exceed, and it's to be managed by staff based on the needs of the fuel indexing. So it's not a given.
Okay, because in the last page of the presentation, it mentions small and local business. I was unaware that they also qualify as a local.
Yes.
But it mentions here that, I mean, their objective is to get 10%.
Yes. And
But
they have
it's-
identified a vendor who.
They have not.
They have.
Okay, because
And the
what's
services that that vendor will provide, yes.
perfect, because the second paragraph on that back page says something contrary.
We needed to clarify some of the information they included in it, because we were going through compliance review as this AIR was put together, but they did identify the services, the vendor, and they are committing to 10%.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's finish this item, and then I'll
No,
recognize
I
you.
wanted to ask on this item.
All right, go ahead.
You said only one proposal.
Yes.
Okay. Why is this being considered differently than the other times when there's been only one proposal and we've thrown them out and started over again? Why is this different? Make the case for it. Tell me why we really should accept this.
This is a specialized service. In this particular case, we know the group of folks that we're going to bid this project. The current vendor, vendors that have different districts. The decision for not bidding this job had nothing to do with technical requirements. It had nothing to do with schedule. It had nothing to do with contractual requirements that we set in. They simply made a business decision not to submit a proposal. They said that the estimate of work that we put in the budget was too low. The bottom line is that we had this discussion, Madam Vice Chair, at operations multiple times in discussing the scope of work for Road Ranger, the type of service we wanted, how we wanted to separate towing from service vehicles. We've changed the game here. And the bottom line is that the current vendors didn't want to make that investment or didn't feel that the budget was correct. That's a business decision. That is not something that is flawed in the process or flawed in the scope, and that's the distinction.
Just for
That and the fact that the proposer was responsive, when in other cases when we have gotten, or the last case in which we got one proposer, they were non-responsive. In this
So
case.
this
they were-
was a responsive bid.
Yes.
All right. You have the floor.
You had, correct me if I'm wrong, you had 4 respondents,
We had 4 people who attended the mandatory pre-proposal.
3 dropped out.
3, right.
The engineer's bid was $7,000,005.
Right.
They came in at $7,000,002 and change,
Correct.
right? And they had to comply.
And they complied, correct.
Mr. Chairman,
But, yeah.
I have a question. Why is this contract 3.5 years in length? Why is it, I mean,
Because
why are we giving him?
Because we're starting it
or
in
them?
January. We extended the current contract through January so that we can go through this process. So since the year starts, for us, our fiscal year is July 1st. The 3.5 is to cover the 6 months between January and July and June 30th.
Is it common conduct to give 3 years contract to these type of operators? Is that industry-wide
Yes.
or?
Yes.
It's not uncommon.
It is pretty much industry-wide. We're asking, at least in our contracts, for, in some cases, major capital investments made in certain vehicles. So, you know, you have to capitalize that over
And
a
they can
longer
recoup
contract term.
their investment. Right.
We have the usual non-performance cancellation clauses,
As always.
and which is, again, just repeat it for everybody's sake. What is it?
We could terminate.
30-day
by-
written notice,
Yeah.
cancellation.
30 days notice. Okay.
And they will be evaluated every year, just like every other consultant and contractor at the authority.
Vice Chair Gutierrez, you have questions?
No.
Any further questions? Rick?
Yeah, I just want to, I was involved in the evaluation committee, and clearly I was concerned it was only one vendor. And I think to Executive Director's point, we're changing the paradigm here. And I think there is a ceiling that has been set by the industry, and this goes against that ceiling. So I think there was a concerted effort by the industry not to submit multiple proposals, because clearly this has set the stage for a lower price. And that is a result of our creativeness and the way that this was directed, which is bring us more efficient vehicles and not the heavy equipment that is, consuming gas and diesel. And I think since that's the existing model, every time you change that model, people want to keep that model. So it is my opinion that the industry as a whole wanted to keep that model, and we had a provider who's basically saying, there's enough money to be made out there, and we think we can do it. And I think what we're going to be seeing, and I've spoken this with the Executive Director, is that this may be the beginning of turning the direction of where the industry was going. So, as you know, costs don't go down, they continue to go up. And some of the rates go as high as $55 an hour. Well, we just changed that, and we're forcing the industry to say, we're going to dictate the terms of how we're going to do business by putting some requirements that are going to force you to rethink your business model with more efficient vehicles, and I think that's what we're doing here. So after becoming an expert in this field in the last several months, I could tell you that it is my prediction that there will be more changes to follow statewide, industry-wide, because if one can do it, that means the rest can do it. So I just want to let you know that I think we're bold, and the numbers speak for the fact that we're actually underestimate, but we're also changing the paradigm.
I'd like to say into the record that I am particularly proud of MDX in this particular issue, because this shows you how MDX can think out of the box, how we don't get shook by what would normally shake everybody else. I'm particularly proud of the work that Rick Rodriguez Pina, our member, did as an oversight. He was able to follow the process, understand the changes that staff was recommending, come back with help the process and help guide it. And I think it's a real kudo for him and for the staff. And I think this is really, it's an indication of that we feel sure of ourselves and that we're changing the paradigm in effect, and we're moving forward. And I think this is a major step forward, and I really commend all of you that have been working on it.
Thank you, Chairman.
All right. Any other questions? Is there a motion? Is it moved and seconded? Further discussion on item 9D. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So we're now on 10, which is procurement report.
No.
You had an item,
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Chairman.
I'm sorry. All right, there's a motion to,
There's new item E,
oh, I'm sorry.
the
No.
new item E coming
You
from
want
the
to do
executive
E,
committee.
and then we're going to go back to revisit the issue. Okay. So item E, which we added at the beginning, was a report from the executive committee. So, Madam Vice Chair, why don't you report to us what that is?
Right. Thank you, everyone. We had a meeting of the executive committee, and it was unanimously attended and voted on the executive director's contract, that the only action taken by the committee was to extend his agreement to 5 years with 2 additional years instead of the current existing terms, which is 3 years with two additional year renewals. So I'm making a motion for us to vote on the committee's recommendation of his new terms, 5 with 2 additional terms.
Is there a second? Second. Is there?
Mr. Chair, if I could just clarify for the record.
Please,
I want
Mr.
this
Weiss.
to come in correctly. Under the existing contract, the board has the sole discretion to extend the term of this contract. And so the executive committee voted to exercise the right that's in the existing contract with the executive director to extend the term as outlined by the chair of the committee.
So let the motion then reflect the words that Mr. Weiss just spoke into the record as the motion. Okay, is that acceptable to you?
Absolutely.
And to the seconder, is there further discussion? Any questions?
I'd like to ask the
Yeah.
executive director if he has any comments on this.
No, of course, I have no comments.
Thank you.
I'm very happy, thank you.
Can we put a chain
Very
around your?
happy. We did put chains.
Can we add a clause in the contract, put a chain around his neck as well? And
Yeah. All right, are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, now there's a motion to reconsider item.
I like.
Wait, let's get the right
C.
item so we do this
C.
properly. Item C. So there's a motion by Vice Chair Gutierrez to reconsider item C. We have to vote on the reconsideration.
The reason for the reconsideration.
Excuse me,
of
just one
item
second.
C-
It requires a second.
Yeah, but let me say why.
No.
Why reconsider?
The proper procedure is, and I don't want to get overly technical,
I
but you need to
understand.
make a motion.
I,
The motion to
as
reconsider
chair, I
requires-
rule, it's been seconded, it's been moved and seconded.
Thank you.
Now state your case.
Okay. I absolutely agree that this agency is the winner, and they did an exceptional job. The reason for the reconsideration is the fact that the contract does not have a cap. I could not leave, does not have a cap. I cannot leave this room today realizing that we've awarded a contract that does not have a cap. I think we all, even if we build a bridge, an access road, whatever it is we do in this agency, there's always a benchmark. There's always a figure in place. And I feel that this contract needs to have it, whatever it may be, the will of the board, but it has to have a number.
Mr. Chairman,
Wait, hold on. Which we could always change in the future if need be, right?
Correct.
All right,
I would
Mr.
like to also have a cap. I was hesitant to vote for this, but I went with a majority. But I would like to see if we can just basically pass this back to the actual committee who'll be in charge in tasking and come up with a budget, a global budget number, a task number, a cap number.
No, Mr. Sanabria, I think it's important that we move forward. I don't have any problems capping it today.
Well, let's cap it.
And this is a committee of the whole, and we certainly have enough knowledge between you.
Is there an item in the budget for this?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so
there
why
is.
don't we just
It's-
attach that item in the budget to,
The issue is setting up a contract cap, and the contract is multiple years. So we can establish that in negotiations, but the annual cap, the annual budget is set by the board during budgeting process. And those are the task authorizations that are granted, and that is the plan that is executed. But we will be more than happy in our negotiations with the firm to set a cap over the life of the project, not to exceed, and we will bring that contract to you
Okay.
with that cap recommendation as noted. And we will look at what we have been spending on this type of work
In
in
other
the
words,
past.
we're not going to finalize this until it comes back with a cap. And
you
then
can
the contract
defer,
is
you can
approved.
defer the approval of this until you come back with a
Actually,
cap.
it's
Is that what you're saying?
if I may, Mr.
Go
Chair,
ahead, go
it's
ahead.
actually two separate issues. Today, what we're doing is approving the selection of the firm. By selecting the firm, it allows us to enter into negotiations with the firm on a contract. I think the will of the board is that when we enter into negotiations, you want to set a cap for the contract. We will bring that cap back to you. But in order to negotiate with them, we need your approval on the selection, on the
Got it.
technical evaluation
That's fine.
committee.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, is there a need then to, with that clarification, is there a need then to reconsider? Or is it just you want to have a direction to staff that when they come back to a contract? If you want to reconsider, there needs to be a vote on the motion to reconsider, and then the matter is back on the floor, and then you could amend it.
Well, what's your recommendation so that this is cast into stone?
Okay, so then I think you should vote on the Vice Chair's motion for reconsideration, and then the matter's back on the floor, and then the motion should be amended to, that the vendor is approved, provided that when the contract comes back, there's a cap in the contract.
Got it. So now there's a motion before us to reconsider. It's been moved and seconded. The explanation's been made. All those in favor of reconsideration vote aye. Aye. Opposed? So it is now before us. And now, if you will, the motion by Vice Chair Gutierrez is the words that the counsel, Mr. Weiss, spoke into the record. Is there any questions as to what we're voting on?
I move to insert the language in terms of the mechanics of what the executive director just said, that they will be authorized to enter into a contract with the winning party, but they will come back with a capped.
That's basically what he said. So with that as an addendum or in addition to what you said into the record, does the maker of the motion accept it? Seconder accept it? Is there further discussion on this? Are we ready to vote? Yes.
I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank the committee members. It was a full day we were here, and it was arduous, and I wanted to make sure everybody knew
And
that we
thank you
appreciate that.
for dedicating so much time yourself. Shelley, is there further discussion on this item? Are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now, as to my comments, I just have two things I want to say. First is I got a call from Jim Barbarossa. Jim Barbarossa is the vice president for HNTB for ITS. He just got back from Tokyo in the annual conference in Tokyo. He says that the speed of change in technology, in road building, and transportation is happening so quickly that it doesn't change now in a matter of a year, it changes in a matter of a week. And that the things that were shown to the experts in the business, I'm talking about General Electric, Siemens, General Motors, Nissan, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Ford Motor Company, the things that are coming out of technology are so mind-boggling that it's not going to be 10 years where we're going to see major changes. We're going to see major changes in 2 or 3 years. And that Mr. Executive Director, my comment to him was to put it in writing and to send it to you, to send me a copy of a letter written to you. And he's recommending that we meet with some gentleman from MIT and somebody else. Because my comment to him was that I wanted to make sure that we don't build obsolete roads. We're about to spend a lot of money rebuilding and expanding, and that hopefully whatever we do is not going to have to be dug up and scrapped in 5 years because we forgot to put some 6-inch tube or something that everybody now knows is the coming technology. For example, the BMW now has a fully electric vehicle, which they're selling for $135,000, that goes from 0 to 60 miles an hour in 4 seconds. And these cars now can go up to past 250 miles an hour. And they're coming up with technology that charges these electrical batteries in half of the time. The kinetic energy that's being used to charge these vehicles is changing on a weekly basis, to the extent that, for example, one of the big problems that all these companies had was that when you charge them kinetically, you lose 10% of the electrical charge, no more. Now it's 100%. So I mean, the things that are coming out are really not only mind-boggling, but it's going to change technology. And what I think it means, in my opinion, is that our roads are going to be the right-of-ways for transit systems that we have no idea what they're going to be like. But I think they're going to completely revolutionize how people move in urban areas like Miami-Dade County. So for those of you that are strong on this, on the usage of technology for transit systems, it's coming. The second thing I want to say is that we have a meeting. We have 2 meetings that are coming up. One is on November 19th, which is the joint committee meeting, and then followed by a December 10th board meeting. Each one of those subjects is enough to keep a board meeting here for 4 or 5 hours. We're going to have a very tough time getting through those 3 technical and very complicated and very involved subjects. I really plead with each and every one of you and those that are not here to be present at that November 19th meeting so that it doesn't come as a shock to you, the things that we're going to be discussing on December the 10th. So be here, please, November 19th, so that you're fully prepared to hear what's going to happen on December the 10th, to think about it, and to come prepared I think it's going to be a long meeting. I would like to ask, I guess I don't have to ask, I would like to announce that instead of a 4 o'clock session that we start at 2, because I think it's on December the 10th. In other words, I think it's going to be a long meeting, and if we start at 4, we're going to be here at 8, and I think a lot of people are going to be upset with that. So if you don't mind, if anybody has any objections, just let me know. But unless I hear otherwise, the December 10th board meeting will start at 2 o'clock. Is there anything else? Yes, Luz.
If I may, Mr. Chair, before we wrap up, I just wanted to make a comment and actually commend this agency and this board. I just came back yesterday from my first trip to Europe. I spent a weekend taxi cabin through Barcelona and another weekend underground subway my way through Paris. But the most amazing part of my trip was 5 days that I spent by myself on my own, driving a very tiny Chevy Spark, some car make that I've never even heard of, 5-speed, through the south of France. And if you've never been, the highway system implemented in the south of France, it's really come a long way from what I hear used to be years ago. And my little 5-day, 8-city tour cost me, when you convert it, $92 in tolls.
Wow.
And the interesting thing was, because every time I pulled up to there's no open road tolling, as we know. France has some serious privacy concerns on capturing any type of image when you go through, so they still have the old-fashioned turnstiles. It was a surprise of the fee having to pay just to enter a city and then tolls for exiting certain areas. And the incredible connection of highways and the interconnection. Thank God for my little GPS. And I'm glad I did that because it was a great realization of the incredible system we have here. It was Mark Twain who once said that travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. And unfortunately, agencies like ours take great opposition from folks who have this sort of narrow-minded mentality on the great need that exists for the work that we do and the implementation of services that we offer, and the fact that is a cost associated with it. And I certainly wouldn't be sitting here if I wasn't a proponent of user-based fees, and like our agency is. But the critical component here, as opposed to that part of France, is the alternative use or choice. So if you don't take the highway, what are you going to do? Well, what I ended up doing just to go sample was going about 45 miles off course, up a mountain and down a mountain, and through precipices and cliffs and high cliffs and no railing. That was the choice over taking the highway with the high tolls. So I came back home really appreciating our minimal cost fees and the true alternative choices that our road users who opt not to use our tolled highways have, as opposed to other parts of the world. So
And ready to go to work.
kudos and ready to work. Yes. I'm exhausted. I'm jet lagged, but I'm ready to go to work. I'm very appreciative of what we're doing here.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? All right. Well, we finished within the hour. Is there any further discussion?
Motion.
There's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. We stand adjourned. Thank you very much.